So we're holding this conversation in memory of our dear mentor and friend,
Mhm.
Shulman. We will be talking here to colleagues and students of Lee who made distinguished careers in education research, mostly following Lee's guidance and inspiration. And we will have today with us Suzanne Wilson. Thank you for being with us from your summer home with a green background.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Lee was always talking about you as the first director of the teacher assessment project,
Right.
and he was very proud. But when was your first interaction with Lee? When did you meet him?
Lee and I arrived at Stanford the same fall. He came from Michigan State, where he'd been for, I think, 17 years. And I was a first year doctoral student at Stanford. And I had my first class at Stanford was with Lee. And it was um, a mind-blowing experience, and we got along famously. And then he started inviting me to meetings that he was hosting because he was setting up his relationships and his projects, and so he invited me. He was very generous, as you know. So his I think probably I learned more about intellectual generosity from Lee than anybody else in my life, and he was very generous in welcoming me and connecting me with new communities of people at Stanford. So. And then I began working for him officially in my second year at Stanford.
So what was this teaching assessment project that you led? I think it led to the development of the assessments and the standards of the National Board for
Yes,
Professional
the
Teaching
National
Standards
Board.
later on.
Yeah,
But it was a
he,
very courageous attempt to look at teaching deeper than the regular testing and
yes,
scores. Yeah.
yeah.
So what
The
was
it was part of a larger movement of concerned with trying to do everything that we could in the U.S. to enhance the profession of teaching. As you know, teaching is sometimes thought as civil service, sometimes thought as there are different kinds of ways of conceptualizing teaching. But Lee and Gary Sykes, who was another colleague of ours, were involved in a commission that was sponsored by the Carnegie Corporation to consider how to enhance the profession of teaching. And one feature of the sort of classic model of professions is that the members of the profession police themselves, and they have assessments that are aligned with the nature of the work that they have to do. So medical boards or law boards, or so they proposed uh, a more robust and aligned way of assessing teachers. And one piece of that was an argument to have a national board for professional teaching that would have standards and assessments. And those assessments would be largely performance based, and they would be administered by teachers and judged by and evaluated by teachers with teams of other people, specialists, measurement specialists, and experts in the subject matters, et cetera. So Lee and Gary got a grant to create a prototype for this national board. And I had been involved in, Gary and I had were the ghostwriters for the initial standards for the National Board for Professional Teaching Standards. And then, so Gary and I became the directors of this project to develop a prototype.
and when you look over 40 years down the road with this courageous attempt to look at teaching seriously with the professional standards, with the ethics, with the performance, the
Yeah.
practice, and you look at the large scale development of the profession, where do we stand today?
Well, the national board exists. I don't think it's going anywhere. It's an alive and well institution. It's more deeply rooted in states that have a history of teachers being thought of more as professionals. and also in states where there were leaders, governors, and other union leaders and people who had acted as advocates for teachers. And so in states like North Carolina, there are a lot more national board certified teachers, but there are teachers all over the country, and it's a thriving organization. And I think that it's now part of the profession of teaching in the U.S.
And when you look at the wider perspective, looking at the profession, moving from a blue collar industrial revolution, teaching the curriculum to the test, moving towards an expert-based clinical. Where on that scale, where are we now?
Well, this is a worldwide phenomenon, so it's not U.S. specific, but there has been a lot of interest in trying to break up the teacher unions, which is an attack on teacher professionalism, even though unions sometimes are seen as antagonistic to professions, but and an interest in breaking down high standards for teacher certification to allow lots of different kinds of people to enter the profession without being thoroughly prepared. Teach for America is a worldwide phenomenon. And all of this is the ideas from the free market, open up the gates, let anybody come in. The market will be the police for quality and for appetite. And so in the US, we have some states that have maintained very high standards for teachers, and which means extensive clinical experience, both before somebody does something like an internship or field student teaching, a tighter relationship between the knowledge that people need to have and learning how to put that knowledge into practice. And so there are places like Connecticut, where I live currently, was a very early on state that decided that it would have a system of levers that were in place to enhance the quality of teaching in the state. So different levels of certification, high quality assessments of teachers, longer preparation in university-based preparation. But there are other states where, Texas, people can become teachers with minimal training. And there are lots of people who've done research trying to figure out whether or not there are differences in the quality of the teachers who are produced in shorter term or longer term, or it's not necessarily about time. It can also be about the quality and the intensity of the experiences that people have to prepare them for teaching. But it's a mixed bag in the US right now. The tensions of democracy and quality institutions with the free market thinking is an issue worldwide.
We were talking about teacher preparation. You mentioned Teach for America and other such attempts, but the national board was an attempt to create professional development for advanced teachers, for those experienced teachers who finished their preparation course probably many years ago, but now feel that as part of a profession, they need to learn from their community and not just from their own experience. So when you look today about on the opportunities for teachers to learn as they go along with their careers, what would be your insights about professional learning communities of practice, using simulations, learning through digital courses, through self-learning? What would you recommend an experienced teacher that wants to proceed in their
Well, the
career?
good news is that there's a smorgasbord of opportunities for teacher learning. There is no system in the U.S. for guaranteeing that teachers across their career will have access to high quality learning experiences. And a lot of it has to do with teacher choice, because they participate, even though there are school systems that have very thoughtfully designed systems that include ongoing PD for all teachers that targets relevant and timely needs that the school system has. In general, in the US, it's still a teacher's ongoing learning is really dependent on the individual teacher. There are things that we know about what makes a professional learning experience high quality and what will increase the probability that that experience will lead to a teacher having enhanced their practice and or students learning more or being more engaged. And those are things like longer term learning experiences. So people have tried to put a number of hours on it, like 40 hours, but that's an elusive goal. But we know that teachers need time to practice things in their classrooms and then step away and reflect on that and figure out what they want to learn from what happened and to keep going. So we know that time matters. We know that something like whether it's a professional learning community or a teacher study group or a book club or a school improvement community or teacher online communities, because many teachers, especially in rural areas, don't have groups that are the kinds of groups of support that they need. And so online professional learning communities are also really helpful. So we know that time and being part of a group of teachers who are learning, when somebody is looking for a high quality professional development experience for them to voluntarily enroll in, or a school district is looking to buy services from somebody, that people can look for those kinds of features, and they matter. We know that from high quality research, that those kinds of features matter to whether or not teachers learn something.
When I talked to Gary Sykes, he advised me to ask a question. If a grandson would come to you and ask for your opinion whether to become a teacher, from all you know, and looking, forward looking towards technology and artificial intelligence and the level of trust between policymakers and practitioners, what would be your advice?
I'm retiring, having taught for 50 years. And I say that because I have always said that teaching, I wanted to become a teacher because it is impossible work and very challenging to do. And that means that it's intellectual work and a relational work and intellectual work and emotional work. And so my father was a physicist, and yeah, he had a PhD, and he said I was too smart to be a teacher. And I said, I don't understand how you wouldn't want smart people, because the work is impossibly interesting and hard and challenging to do. So in general, I would say to a grandson, it's really valuable work to do. I would also say, and it's public work, and you need to understand, and therefore political work, and you need to understand that you're going to be part of a workforce that needs to think about how to be politically active, how to be engaged, how to understand the big picture so that you're fully informed and you feel like you're taking as much control, you're being as active a citizen in that workforce as you can be. But I'm at the end of my career, and so I've also been given a lot of letters from people who have been my students in the last couple of months. And I also know it's not the kind of work that everyone would enjoy. It is definitely the kind of work that I've enjoyed and that I've wanted to do. But in some ways, I think the model that people go into teaching before they figure out other things that they might want to do, go to law school or business school or become a museum curator or something like that, is right, because I think people have to be in classrooms with kids, in the environment, to see whether or not they have an appetite for it, because many people should not be teachers. It's the fact that you have to at once think about pushing people intellectually to reach in ways that they don't either value or know that they can reach. And you have to make them constantly feel that you care about them and you respect them and you have their back while they try to push themselves to become smarter and more accomplished. That's really difficult work. And some people just don't enjoy it. So I would probably, my grandchildren know that when they ask me a question, I have much to say in response. So I would probably say all those things. I would say there's no better work in the world. It's not appropriate. It's not everybody's cup of tea. And it's especially right now, I understand why a lot of people don't want to be teachers in the US. I think that that's too bad for the profession, but we also have a history of that happening in the US. That appetite for teaching has gone up and down, up and down, up and down over the course of our history as a country. So this is just a new version of that. And we will get to the other side where lots of people want to teach at some point, because that's what the history has taught us. I don't think it's going to go down and stay down.
If there's one thing that I've taken from Lee Shulman is his sense of optimism. So I know that if he was here, he would tell us both, guys, there's still more to come. And and I know how proud he was of you and your work. So I thank you for being with us today and for sharing with us your insights and your work. And I hope to see you soon.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I and everyone I know in the United States, we have all of you in our hearts.
Thank you.
Every day.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
That's very important to us.
Yes.
We need you.
Yes. All right. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.